now.
Alrighty. What's going on, NMO fans, Fighting Game League fans? This is your host, Alex Lexus, with co-host Nelson Rios and Demizzle, coming at you with another podcast for our little presentation. So today we're going to cover a couple topics, and I know that the cross tekken thing is still being beaten over the forehead, but there's reasons for it in this one. I won't put it in this video, but I actually have some replays with legitimate reasons why certain things need to be addressed. But I just want to make sure to another reminder: September 22nd. You know, there's gonna be a big fighting game tournament with KOTC Nation. We're all gonna be there, you know, doing our thing. We'll see what happens. Nelson's been training me in Ultimate Marvel. I'm getting a little better, I have to say, and I might keep my cousin's copy. We shall see. But Nelson, do you have any announcements for the group before we get started?
Besides the fact that I brought up the last time that I will be appearing at the next KOTC Nation tournament along with Alex and the rest of the NMO crew, and the fact that yesterday was my birthday. So.
Yeah, you know what? I was about to put it on blast too. So, the missile. Let's hit the song. 1, 2, 3. Nah, I didn't put you on blast like that.
You can go on that limb by yourself, dude.
Because, what is that? We're celebrating a bunch of birthdays. There's Shinwar, his birthday is this month. Nelson's just passed. So, I mean, you know, those of you who know us on Facebook, send birthday wishes to these guys. Nelson might be a little hungover. I don't know what he was doing. No, but...
Might be broken.
Oh my god.
Oh damn. Really? All right. Okay. First thing, we're just gonna get the cross tekken thing out of the way. I sent a couple of notes to Nelson in reference to how they can improve, and I guess Demizzle got a phone call. All right. Sorry about that, fans. This is the things that happens when we are completely live. So we're working on that. All right. But couple things now. Looking at Street Fighter Cross Tekken's engine a little deeper, I'm actually trying to view it through the eyes of someone like a Maximilian or a Ross or a Gutex or Bernier Brawl, like the tournament scene players, trying to really find like where the tweaking needs to occur. Now, the first thing that I really think should be adjusted is the Magic ABC combo into launcher. This is abused by noobs. Somebody who doesn't know how to play can run in there, tap 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 tap. Okay, Persona 4 has a feature like this where mashing on the X button and getting a combo out. Fair enough. But in Cross Tekken, with the stun or hit stun and whatnot, somebody can just keep plinking on that jab until they bite, they actually hit you, and then bam, 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 you're going for it. You know what I mean? What I think the adjustment to that is the ABC can remain. That would be fine for those noobs. But they should do ABC and manually input the launcher command, you know, because you got to help the players get better. I understand that it's to, you know, appeal to the casual or to a larger market, but by doing the ABC and deliberately or manually doing the launcher, I think that it'll get rid of some of these lucky wins that some of these guys are getting. So, Nelson, what are your thoughts on that particular suggestion? And then I'll give the floor to Demizzle.
You are somewhat right for the fact that they do need to change it up, because even for someone like me who plays the game, you know, here and there now, unlike before, it gets a little annoying especially when you're trying to do like your nice little advanced combo, and if you tap H twice, you're instantly gonna launch up the character, and that kind of like really bothers me and everyone else. So having to manually
happening by accident.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if you was to put the launcher manually by hitting, what was it, both hard punch and hard kick, right? You tap it in, it'll be so much more easier. But then again, as you were just saying, you have to get the casual sense of gamers to have the appeal to make it easier for them. But what I tell you guys, tough it up, fucking learn the game. That's just coming from me.
Bottom line, Demiso, what are your thoughts on that?
Like, it's in a perfect world, that's what would happen, but considering that this would be yet another patch, it's not going to happen, so you have to take it as it is and just deal with it. Like, you have to figure out ways around it, but unfortunately, since the game is just so broken and the system so catered to appeasing new people, it just makes it very easy for new people to get wins over experienced people, and that's the main reason why I'm not gonna play it seriously. Like, I'll play it like every once in a while, but you'll rarely see me online playing it for that very reason. I just don't want to deal with it.
Now, you were saying something to the effect like ways around it. There's no way around it. Once you get hit with that jab, that's it. If it's hit confirmed, it's going right into it. So I just think that all they have to do is they just remove the automatic launcher off the second tap of the heavy hit or the heavy punch and just do it manually. You know what I mean? I don't think it's that hard. And then the chain system, the 1, 2, 3, leave that for the beginners. But maybe, like you said, Demiso, that's a patch that won't happen. I remember at the very first build, at when Mike Ross and I'm a little tired.
Mike Ross and
Maximilian. What? Yeah, and they were playing, and it wasn't them directly, but other people who were playing it were saying that they were doing the launchers by accident, and they didn't, they had to find a way around it. So I thought that was gonna get fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, not for time's sake, I'm gonna move on to the next suggestion, and this comes courtesy of suggestions from EventHubs.com. Make sure you check them out. I went in their forums, and somebody came up with a suggestion for snapbacks, like it's similar to the Versus series. So that would be an interesting feature to stick in there, you know what I mean? But here's the thing. How would you execute it? Could you do it like quarter circle forward and the launcher buttons to bring that character back in or so? I think that would be a feature that is very legitimate. I think it's a viable strategy, because that can probably end fights a little quicker too. You know what I mean? Because, the timeout thing, I think that might help. So, Demiso, what are your thoughts? And then Nelson.
It would be a nice addition, but given the system, I don't think it would work because the system is predicated on juggle combos and tap out combos. So you can do you'd see a lot of juggle, tap out, snap back, and you'd constantly see that, and it would be another thing to be abused by advanced players, because then you get advanced players that will be able to do the resets and constant resets, and then you'd snap back and force the person in. And in the way that Tekken versus Street Fighter works is that when you're tagged in, how snapbacks work in general is when you're forced in, you don't get a move to, how when you tag yourself in manually, you usually can come in with a move so you're not left wide open. Well, in the snapback, you just come in cold, and you be able to force a person in cold and continue to combo. So I can see that being abused in Tekken versus Street Fighter given the combo system.
Okay, I mean, that's a valid argument. We don't know because it's not in the game, but I mean that's what was suggested on Event Hub. So we could see if Capcom listens. This is just something, because I really have high hopes for the game. If Capcom freaking listens, I think they'll get it right. But we'll see. Nelson, what are your thoughts on snapbacks as a suggested alleviation to timeouts?
Snapbacks would be an interesting feature, but then again, you have to watch very carefully to the engine, because mainly you only have one health gauge, regardless of if you like it or not. If snapbacks was to be put in the game, you must have the feature so when the character completely dies, the next character comes in. Because if you use snapbacks, I'm going to tell you right now, exactly based off what we have, it's going to be Marvel 2 all over again. Because the only thing I need to do is just hit you in an unsafe scenario, snap you back, to a point where you can't go off screen and just keep relaunching you until you die. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
Mm. Well, I mean, I'm sure that if implemented correctly, that can be a really strong tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just suggestions from the forums.
Yeah.
So we the next two things, I'm just gonna consolidate them. You know, slow down the timer and stop the timer for supers. I don't know. That's one. And then gems shouldn't have been in the game to begin with. But I will give Capcom credit with the gems that they did adjust. It actually balanced things slightly. But just real quick, I'm gonna just give you two time to just chime in about the timer and the gems, but because I got the one thing for Pandora, and we'll move on to the other two topics. But Nelson, what do you think about the gems and the timer fixes that they need to implement?
Well, with the gems, start off at first, it's basically the worstest idea that you could have came up with. What they should have done is just follow the Marvel superhero route and just use the gems accordingly to that. That would have been done much more easier and safer. Now about the whole the time thing, I do agree. Yes, they need to definitely slow down the timer. Put it to like Marvel time. Marvel time like doubles the time infinitely. So instead of 99 seconds on the clock, it feels like 180 seconds. So just put it like that. And for the super stopping on timing, you really don't need to do that if they just fix the overall clock. But I would suggest that if you're in a state of when both of the characters are in at the same time, or you're doing like a double special, yes, I would recommend for the time to completely stop during those two super moves, but not during your regular super.
Okay. Okay, because the cross assaults, like some of them are like 10 seconds or better, you know, and a scrub can sit and do that, knowing that all right, there's no way out of it. It's over. It kills the hype for okay, man, I'm already fucked. You know?
Exactly.
But Dementor, what are your thoughts before we move on to the next two?
I agree with Nelson on the gems, so I'm not going to say anything more than that. As for the timer, time should have been like a no-brainer. Like when you make a fighting game, the second thing you should consider, like after the type of fighting game you're making, is the time, because the time has to coincide with the flow of the fighting game, and the time in Tekken Cross Street Fighter does not flow with the gameplay at all. It allows for too much cheapness, so that should have been like the number one thing on the first patch. And yet here we are like 7 or 8 patches later, still nothing. I mean, come on.
I feel you. All right, well, what I'm going to put in, well, this one should be quick. Now, with the whole block stun issue, either they fix the block stun or increase the window for counters, or the alpha counters, as they say. What do you think about that, Nelson?
Well, definitely, I do agree with you. They do need to fix something with the block stun. Either, as you said, make it more delayable so you do have a chance for an opening to counter back, or just remove that stun period in one go. Because if you're going to keep sitting there spamming light jab, then who the fuck is going to sit there and play the game? I might as well just learn how to time my light jabs.
Yep, just like with Cammy and sitting there in a past video with elbow. And then some people know you're going to go for the counter, and then they'll sit there and just make it like you're doing jump rope. And it's like, this ain't freaking double dutch. What the hell? You know? But Demiso, what are your thoughts on this before we move to the last improvement suggestion for Cross Tekken?
I'm in the blocks that a block stun should not occur on a light attack. It should only occur on a medium attack or better, because then you're also risking opening yourself up for a counter. The window is larger for you to be countered. So you should be able like, if you're attacking, you have to have that same risk to be open for a counter. Like, if you're just doing jab block stuns, there's no risk involved in that. So like Nelson said, you can just spam it and spam it and spam it, and it just gets you frustrated, and it makes you not want to play the game because you're like, if this is what I'm gonna run into all the time, what's the point?
Okay, makes sense. All right, final thing on Street Fighter Cross Tekken improvement topic series is the Pandora. Now, I was talking to Mugen Lord. Shout out to you guys at the Mugen Lord channel. Make sure you support him. He's a good guy. You know, we do similar things with our broadcast, so check him out. But we were having a little debate on the Pandora mode, and I believe that the Pandora mode needs to become more useful. Capcom had claimed that in early builds of Street Fighter Cross Tekken that Pandora was so strong that whoever activated it first was guaranteed to win. Now, it depends on how the system was implemented because we don't know. We're just going by what is told to us. But I believe that with the Pandora, I think that you should be able to use it without having that meter screw up cause a time over. The penalty for using it should be, okay, activate it. You can't tag your character, your partner in, or because you already sacrificed them. And when it wears off, it wears off. Now you can't bring nobody else in. You can't cross rush or anything. Now you're stuck there to fight a 2-on-1 thing. And I would actually use it a little more because I'm confident in my skills with one, like a main character, 1 or 2. You know what I mean? But to flat out end the fight, you're like, what the hell? You know what? I'm not going to use it because it's going to trigger a timeout, you know? But I don't know. That's one thing. And then possibly they may need to change the input for it because it's happened to Shinor, it happened to Nupe, it happened to me. You're trying to do one of either the cross rush or bring in the 2 characters at the same time. I use that to regenerate some energy. And sometimes, I don't know, Pandora pops up, you're like, oh, I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? That's something that they need to look at. But, Nelson, what are your thoughts on those ideas that Mugen Lord and I were discussing, and then Demizo before we move on?
The Pandora does need to definitely be fixed. I have not read or seen anything of the early builds of Pandora, but they should just either, for the penalty, just leave the timer either the way it is or make it 10 more seconds longer. Sacrificing a character, that's all fine and dandy, and if the energy thing runs out, you should still be able to keep your main character. Or what it should do, instead of that little timer meter on top, you have, 3 meters in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, right? That you're able to build in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Make it so that it just depletes those meters within over time. And then after that wipes out, you have the other opportunity to use Pandora again if you can build up the meter.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't think about that. So have the Pandora bar as is, then have it drain out of your meter. But, you know, during the Pandora state, you have infinite supers or rebuild bars. So that's just something.
Right. I mean,
know.
they could use it for the fact that you could still have infinite supers, but the fact is that they should just deplete it so then that will be its own timer, and then after that, after the fact happens, you're able to regain your Pandora again, but then mind you, your other character is gone, but you'll still be alive, so you're still getting a second chance. So there's multiple chances of you actually still doing it.
That's interesting. All right. You see, I'm glad I brought this up because, you know, I didn't see it that way. But, you know, the audience, make sure when you're leaving your comments below, let's make sure we have a long dissertation and break it down because we want to know what you think. All right. So, Demizo, what are your thoughts before we wrap up that particular portion of the show?
All right. I have 2 suggestions. Like, the first suggestion is, like, the most obvious. Just remove it all together. But the second thing is, like, I would just do it totally different. You know how Guilty Gear has the boost mode where you sacrifice your super bar for extra boost of damage and everything?
Yes.
I would do it like that. I would do it like that so that you sacrifice your extra character and your super bar, but in lieu of doing supers, your character would do like 1.5 times more damage, and it would be a constant effect through the remainder of the fight. And also, you wouldn't be able to block, but you would gain a little bit of armor. So I would make it a feast or fire. Like, it would be a whole bunch of positives, but a whole bunch of negatives behind it too. Like, you
Make
wouldn't
it
be able to
risky to
block.
use high risk, high reward type thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to block. You wouldn't be able to do supers, but you would be slightly faster and you would do a little bit more damage. That's how I would do it.
Sounds interesting. All right. So, MMO fans and Fighting Game League fans, from time to time, whenever something comes up for Cross Tekken in terms of how suggestions for how to improve the game pop up, we'll just have these little discussions. All right. So, switching channels, it was brought to my attention that Microsoft, who is like the owner of Rare Gaming Studios, does not want another Killer Instinct game to be made. I don't know why. Some people say it's pointless. I'm going to let the two pit bulls go at it because Nelson's on one side, DeMizzo's on the other. But I'm shocked. Like, why would you buy a company that has a franchise that really, has a fan following? People want this game to be made, but you're saying no. Sounding like Capcom right there, you know what I mean? Microsoft usually has a good track record. Hopefully they don't start falling into bad habits. But DeMizzo, I'll give you some time. And then Nelson, but why? I don't understand what's going on with not giving Killer Instinct another chance.
I like Killer Instinct 1. Let's get that out the way first and foremost. But I'm not a fan of Killer Instinct 2 and Killer Instinct Gold. I think the series was, like, ruined with those two games. Like, you can't bring it back after that. It's not like they have a strong foundation to build on because not too many people remember Killer Instinct 1, but everybody remembers Killer Instinct 2 and Killer Instinct Gold. And the same people that worked on those games no longer work at Rare, so you're not having, like, a frame of reference to build upon from that standpoint. So that's the reason why I don't think they should bring this series back. Would I be open, like, if Rare licensed out the characters for other companies to use in their games? Yeah, I'd be all for that. But I just don't want to see another Killer Instinct made for the sake of the game being made to cash in on nostalgia. Because then you start running into Capcom, like with, even though Street Fighter 2 HD Remix was a good game, it didn't sell all that well because everybody had moved on from Street Fighter 2. Like, nobody was really interested in playing like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo anymore.
Okay.
So that's my reason for not wanting to see it come back.
All right, not a problem. Nelson, what are your thoughts on the Killer Instinct dilemma?
Well, from what I have read, Microsoft has stated that they don't want the game back because they find it to be a waste of their money and time to remake or bring back the franchise series because they said that that we bought Rare only for certain game, quote Keats Cameo, and one other Rare game, I think it was like GoldenEye that they worked on. And they said the other Rare franchises like
Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark as well. They said that they're not going to even bother touching Conquer Bad Fur Day, which I thought was a really good game. They're not going to even bother touching Killer Instinct or what is it, Super Gemini Force, I think it was called. Or Super Force. I really don't remember that.
Jet Force
Yeah, something like that.
Jet Force
Right,
Gemini.
there you go. And they're not going to want to bother doing that because they think those games are stupid and dead. They feel that that's not going to do anything for them. But out of a fighting game fan and a person who really likes Killer Instinct, especially the arcade port where it just was so much better, the game needs to come out, not for the fact that it will bring out nostalgia, but it will show the new generation, which I mean basically like the 2002 and up people that's in the fighting game community, of what good fighting games used to be before all this shit of waves of crap that we have now has been coming out. So that's just my opinion. Microsoft is stupid for not wanting to make more money, for having a re-release of Killer Instinct 1 in HD, or even trying to start off on making Killer Instinct 3 by using the old framework of Killer Instinct 1 and just build off of it. That's all it is. It's not that hard.
I agree. I agree. So Microsoft, you're responsible for killing combo breaker. So I I I disagree with the decision to not bring life back to the franchise, but people are asking for it. So that's just something to look into. All right. Moving on to our last topic, um, gaming for Windows Live and Xbox Live content transfer. I'm pitching this because I'm a little upset that I have Super Street Fighter 4 PC, I have Super Street Fighter 4 for Xbox Live. I purchased content on Xbox on the console, and I have Xbox Live on my PC. The same game, same account, but I have to purchase the content again. And I'm not too happy with this because you see, with the PS Vita and the PlayStation 3, it's on PSN, it's the same account. You buy something that, like for instance, with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate, if you buy alternate outfits and all that, that'll transfer over to your PS3. You don't have to buy it twice. So I am not too happy with that. Microsoft needs to fix it because it can do one of two things. If they're concerned with losing money, I don't think it's Microsoft directly. I believe it's possibly Capcom too. But if you want to push more PC ports of games that are gaming for Windows Live enabled, make it so that, all right, I buy my content on one account and I should be able to go back and forth between the two because I know I'll be more willing to fork over the cash if I have bought the content for a specific game that I'm playing on the same network, and go from there. So Nelson, what do you think? The Mizzle goes next, and then we'll wrap it up from there.
Well, I do agree with you. I mean, it's kind of unfair that how, in my opinion right now, PlayStation or Sony was smart on their part to use the same coding form of doing that so it's able and easier to transfer. But now for your sake, it's kind of difficult to do that now because, mind you, when Xbox actually came out way before they started doing this whole Windows Live gaming thing where you could use the same gamer tag on the PC as well. So the coding is all different, Alex. So the thing is, like, if that was to happen, and let's say they do take the consideration of making that possible, every game will have to be withdrawn, held back, and rewritten. So that will take an immense amount of time,
Okay.
and Microsoft will lose out on a lot of profit and money. But that is definitely a great idea for the future games that do come out, and they should do that. But for
Okay.
now, out of like your whole Street Fighter and stuff like that, the net coding is a lot different on the PC because it's actually stronger than it is on the Xbox. So it's a whole different sense.
Well,
Not
I
my
mean,
fault
I don't
this
mean
time.
for I don't mean for crossover play. No, that was the timer because we're going into overtime. But I don't mean for cross play. I mean, if it's an Xbox Live account, it's Alex Lexus, right? If I'm buying stuff, okay, if it's the same game, right? It'll show that it's deducting Microsoft points from the PC version, deducting Microsoft points from the console version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's the same game and I purchase the content on one time, why do I have to purchase it again on the PC side? That's what I'm saying. I know that Svensson doesn't want to do the cross play, even though they did it with Lost Planet 1. Rings a bell, motherfucker. Giving them the finger. Anyway, so it's like it can be done, and like you said, for the future.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure that was clear with that. But Demizzle, what are your thoughts before we wrap up?
I can see it being done in the future, but I understand why they don't do it because, as Nelson said, the net coding is two totally different things, and plus, like, not many people are like. They won't buy a PC version and the Xbox version. They'll buy one or the other. So I can see why they don't do it because you're in the like extreme minority in this camp, Alex. So they're not going to cater to like a few thousand people. If it were like a couple 100,000 or maybe even 1 million people, that did it, yeah, they would devote more time and effort into getting that done. But right now, I just don't see them taking the time or effort to do that. Plus, like Microsoft, the reason why Sony can do that is because of the PS Vita and PS3 connectivity. Like it's the same, it's built on the same not net code, but it's like a similar platform.
The
like,
framework. I know what you mean.
yes, it's a similar framework. Like you're building on a similar framework. You're accounting for connectivity. You're counting on people like buying both versions of that game and then syncing them up to get the stuff. So there's incentive to own both games. There's no incentive to owning the Xbox 360 version of Super Street Fighter and the PC version of Super Street Fighter because they're the same game, you know?
What they should do is create that incentive, but they would push more units that way, I believe, in terms of like the PC side of things. But with that being said, that draws the show to a conclusion. We're gonna be coming back with some other topics in like later on in the evening. But make sure you subscribe to the Animal Mugen Arcade channel, Fighting Game League. Follow us on Facebook, and now that we got the YouTube partner, I can shoot these things straight up. All right, and Nelson has a great channel with like gaming streams. So if you want to actually see him doing some playthroughs, walkthroughs with like Devil May Cry HD collection and things of that nature, make sure you check him out. And anything for the group before we sign off, guys?
Nope.
Not that I can recall.
All right. So we will see you next time on our Fighting Game League and MMO Mugen Arcade Show. Peace.